Kenya, a live studio audience is about to shoot unscripted questions. This is Agenda Kenya with Jason Nyantino.
On Agenda Kenya tonight, Benji Ndolo, political activist; Maimuna Mwidau, consultant in gender and democracy; Wangui Mbatia, executive director, the Kenya Network of Grassroots Organizations; Gowi Odera, parliamentary aspirant, Westlands constituency. Good evening and many thanks for joining us. This is Agenda Kenya, your award-winning talk show. My audience tonight comes all the way from Vihiga County, Makueni County, and of course Nairobi County. Welcome aboard. Our first question is from Churchill Kola, who is an engineer. Churchill.
My name is Churchill Kola. I'm a graduate engineer. My question is, in 2007, we voted for a number of MPs out, thinking we would get change. But down the line, we saw the doctors striking, teachers striking. They built themselves good seats in parliament, but no one seems to be concerned. In this case, who is to blame?
Maimuna, you ran for office in 07, did you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
now,
did.
A new crop of MPs every time, but there's no change.
Jason, that's a very tricky question. Yes, we do have a crop of about 70% of the MPs change every 5 years. But what we have not taken note is that 30% that keeps on returning every other 5 years. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the group of people that we need to be concerned about, because either they're running the political parties or they're running the show. The 70% are just followers, but the real leaders who actually are part of the elite that do not want to change this country are the biggest problem in this country today. So my take is that if we really want to make change in this country, then we might as well change that 30% instead of the 70%.
But this 70% that comes in, because 70% goes out, Mm-hmm. So there's a new 70% that comes in. So where's the problem? The problem might be at the supply. The supply level, because
I beg to differ on that one, Jason. Like I said again, the 30%, if you look at the history of this country, it is that 30% that has been governing this country for a very long period of time. And it's only a certain group of families. Let's be very honest here. It is either an Odinga, it's a Kenyatta, a relative of the Kenyatta, or a relative of the Odinga that is actually has been there running this country. Mm-hmm. So the followers, the Kinamidiwas and everybody else, these are just followers. And if you are able to remove that 30%, then for sure, we will have a change. But if you're going to recycle the 70% who are your ABCs in parliament, who are told to vote in a certain way, then we're not going to change anything.
Okay, Benji, same, we change MPs, nothing changes.
I think it's a simple question, Jason. I think that what it is you've got a core, I'll call it 10%, that have been in power even 40 years. They are the institutions, they've been through the different ministries, they've been through the different provincial administration positions, etc. And what we have heard is many times a young MP comes in and the first thing they ask you as you're going through the different bills is, do you have a house in Nairobi? So stop making a lot of noise. You need to toe the line. You need to, earn something. That is how such scandals as Maze, etc. happened. A lot of young, junior, new members of parliament with fresh minds were compromised. And so the truth of the matter is that wholesome change is going to mean wholesome change. Not just turning the 70% and leaving the 30%, but making complete and total revolution.
Wangui, because we are being, from what Benji is saying and Maimuna, clearly there's a problem even at the voters' level. So is the voter to blame?
Yes, partly, but not fully. I'll tell you this. I've worked in the recent days with very good leaders who are aspiring to political office. And one of the things that you realize is that it is extremely expensive to vie for office, largely because the voters do not necessarily look at your leadership credentials. They also want to know what you can give them. And if you take a constituency where somebody is dealing with 50,000 voters, even if you just give them 100 shillings, that requires 5 million. And the point is that the moment we take money at the door, getting out of any leadership meeting, any meeting with an aspirant, It is a cost to that. So let's start with the fact that...
That means the voter is to blame?
Yes, it starts with the fact that most people who are getting into parliament are getting into parliament having invested a certain amount of money in the process of getting elected, and so they are looking to get returns. First thing. The other thing is that, of course, this is a case also of new wine in old skins. Once a person gets into parliament, the day they are sworn in, they stop being who they were. Their salary on that month will be 1 million shillings. They are immediately awarded an insurance scheme for their health for more than 10 million. They can cover their immediate family. They can also cover their mistress. They are eligible for interest-free loans to buy houses. If somebody has been given an interest-free loan for 10 million to buy a house, he's not going to buy a house in your neighborhood in the village. He's buying a house in Runda. So he changes immediately.
So if the salaries are cut, will that be a solution?
You know, in 2002, when Moi left, members of parliament were earning almost the same amount of money as lecturers. And so they cared about the cost of unga. Today, the first thing they get in parliament is almost 1 million shillings. It doesn't matter to a member of parliament that the cost of unga has gone to 150. He can afford, on his first salary, he can afford unga for his family for 30 years. That person is not seeing your issues. The person can take his family for treatment overseas. He does not care that doctors are not on the job. He can take his children to private school. He does not care at all that teachers are on strike. That is the fundamental difference. Now,
let's hear from Mr. Odera, who is actually running for office. So are you going to change? Because you're my good friend, man. So when your payslip changes, if you win next year, are you going to change?
Jason, I need to correct something that Wangoi said. She's been referring to members of parliament as he. But we know about 7% of parliament are also women. And we'll be seeing many more of those coming.
She has taken down the notes.
Yeah, she's taken it down. But to respond to you, I'm saying the real challenge, I think it's the voter. The voter actually has the power to determine who sits in that house. And I think that's what the public needs to be able to recognize. And in my experience, as I am preparing for these elections, voting is not going to happen on March the 4th. Voting actually is a process. It is through the electoral cycle. And as we speak right now, when you think you're going to wake up on the morning of the March 4th to go and vote and say, I'm exercising my vote, you know you didn't make that decision of who's going to be on the ballot. The people who are on that ballot were part of a process. And if Kenyans are not part of the process of who gets onto that ballot before you vote, that is the challenge. And I think to be able to not to recycle the same thing is one, get other Kenyans who are conscientious, who love this country, who are passionate, but be part of this process from the initial.
From your position, one thing worries me. So has the voter in Kenya been wrong all the time?
Evidently, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, we haven't been doing well because, as the question the gentleman has asked, we've been voting the right people, not the wrong people into that. So it's time that we need to be a bit more vigilant. We need to interrogate people even more.
Okay, let's get to hear the audience first, and especially about how we vote. The gentleman on the third row. On the third row.
Anthony Buluma. I'm representing the Kenya National Youth Senate. Maybe just to chip in, I think there's also another new twist to this. I've had members of parliament who are elected, when they get into parliament, people who are fresh, not contaminated, they come out and they tell us that it appears like there's something within those chambers that changes a person. You know, a person comes to you very innocently, requests for your vote, you give them an opportunity. When they get into parliament, they cannot explain what exactly happened, that they can no longer attend to the issues they pledged. So could it be an issue that is internal, in the sense that within the parliament, do we have like a secret book that they are oriented on that allows them to behave that way? Because I don't think I will entirely blame the voters, because the voters need that unga as much as they need that good leader. When these leaders are coming to us, they do not, of course, portray themselves as selfish, as corrupt, as we witness, or as people who will want to...
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, I think, you need to answer that question.
Well, let me put it this way. There have not been credible accountability measures over the people we have voted in. There was one member of parliament who one time was asking in one of the, I'm not going to mention who he is on air, but he one time says, people are asking, tunataka barabara. And it was an informal settlement. And he said, "Kwani kuna mtu ana gari hapa?" You know, and I said that is a very insensitive way that the member of parliament was responding. But in many ways, I want to refer to our laws. And our constitution actually has some accountability measures. One in chapter 6 on the integrity, and that's what I think we should be interrogating. And then secondly, we also need to know that in the constitution now, we have what we call a voter recall clause, where the voters can actually fire the member of parliament. And that is something that I want the public to recognize, that you can keep your member of parliament accountable.
Right, we're coming there actually in deeper sense. But I want to ask you, Mr. Odera, why should we trust you as a parliamentary aspirant for Westlands?
It's a good question, and I think it's a question that we should ask of every person we're going to put in political office. And I say, you shall know them by their fruit. So there's a place where we need to interrogate me from my past and see what I have done. Now, has there been a place where I've exhibited capacity to give leadership? Is there a place where my integrity is coming to question?
What have you done?
Well, I have been a leader for young people in this country for a long time. For the past 15 years, I have been representing national issues for young people, the National Youth Lobby for Reform. I have been a pastor for 10 years. And so I have represented the issues of young people in my community.
What specific fruits or indicators that you can say, when I was a leader, this happened, when I was a leader, this happened?
I think for me, when I was a leader, I was able, and I actually have been able and be part of the parcel of what we have seen today in the Constitution as we enjoy for youth rights. I can say for one particular thing, I've been part of that particular conversation. Okay. I think another thing I've also been part of is a lot of mentoring. Today we have many young people who have had opportunities because of my efforts that I've made.
Thank you. Benji, do you think the voter has been wrong all along?
The voter has been wrong in a way, Jason, and you know, we have to address the cultural problems in this country. There's a prevailing culture of mediocrity in Kenya that we're trying to shake off. We need to transform to become a people that say what we mean and mean what we say. You know, it's right in the words. The word honorable. What does honorable mean? Right honorable. The right hand usually is stronger. Right honorable is the title accorded to a prime minister. Excellency comes from excellent.
So how do we correct the voter who has been wrong? How do we correct that scenario?
Yet, we just bandy around these words. A judge of the court is a justice. His boss is the chief justice. But have we lived by these words? Have we lived by the code? And the answer is no. And so what we have to do is we have to transform our thinking and move away from the hungry issues of handouts, etc., to interrogating, as Goi says, the track records of people. Because when you don't do that, Jason, what you have is you have a bunch of very good pretenders. And I'm sorry to say that many of them even are under this prosperity gospel church.
We are taking a short break now, but we'll be back with more debate. Stay with us.